Rune, do you think that education is stuck in the 20th century?
Well, I think to a large extent it is, yes. We still see that education is produced as an industrial production, where we plan a long time ahead. We produce what we have on the shelves, and we give it to the students when we think they need it, rather than the other way around.
Mm. Yeah, and we see a lot of education still being done in a very analog way, and even with coronavirus, we've seen analog formats going online and reproducing them one-to-one in an online setting via Zoom meetings, for example. So we haven't really seen this sort of digital transformation of the education sector, I think.
No, I think you would still, on the face of it, see education that looks the same 20 years ago or 30 years ago. There are, of course, incremental innovation, but the overall formats, they change very slowly, and they haven't picked up on new digital formats in its core yet.
And data isn't really seen as a strategic asset. It's rather used as backward-looking reporting, even if it's done just for that. So it seems as if the ambition right now for higher education is to have a BI system. So what are the consequences of this lack of innovation?
Well, it means that the production of learning is inefficient, because you don't utilize the ability to make smarter decisions or smarter planning. It also means that the product itself is not competitive. So there are other actors who are entering the learning space, producing learning digital first and data driven. So they're much more competitive. And it also means that the individual learner doesn't really get the benefit of learning that he or she could if you applied some of the new technology that's available. So inefficient, uncompetitive, and lower quality.
And I think we'll see a lot of new companies moving into the education space and the learning space, simply because the old actors aren't providing the level of innovation that can keep up with the demand of the consumers of learning. So we'll definitely see a lot of digital first companies, tech companies investing heavily in this area, and we'll see a lot of new solutions. And some of the old, very recognized actors and higher education institutions will see a dramatic drop in the demand for their services, simply because new and better solutions are coming along if they don't keep up their own innovation.
Yeah, that's if you look on a global scale, that is what is happening at the moment, and you would also see that some actors within the more traditional learning space are moving fast ahead, and because digitalization drives innovation to such an extent, it means that the ones who are on board, they will have a lot of innovation and a lot of growth, whereas the laggards, they will be left behind.
So what do the rest of the field need to do in order to get on board with this development? What possibilities do you see?
Well, first of all, it's some top management responsibility. This is something that must be driven by the executive management of a learning organization. I think, secondly, it's about realizing that this is not just doing the same things we've always done with sort of incremental innovation. This requires a more fundamental rethink of what we do and how we offer, how we provide our services, and the benefit that we provide to society. So there's a fundamental rethink where you would start by saying, what is the benefit that I want to provide? And then go backwards and say, okay, how can technology help me with this? Rather than saying, we have these traditions of doing things, and how can we improve this by 2% or 5% using some digital tool?
It will be very interesting to see who is going to win this space and the development of this space. There's no doubt about it that we'll see a lot of change coming, but it will be interesting to see who is going to do that and who's not going to keep up with the pace and lose their way of doing business.
Yeah, that will be in the years to come, but actually it's right now that you are seeing this need for change and realization in different paces across the learning space, that we need to reform and sort of revolutionize what we do. So that's happening right now. I think most senior management are thinking about this, but I don't see a lot of bold innovations in the field yet.
And do we already now have the tools to do this, or do we still need to see technological development in order for the potential to be met?
I think that we have the tools to a large extent. There are some within the specific learning pedagogy area that needs to be developed, but in the management of organizations, the rethinking of core products, I think we have the tools available, and I think the organizations who realize that it's not about developing a whole new set of things that don't exist right now, but actually using what's available in other industries and then applying it. So that should be the main focal point, not sitting back and thinking, oh, this will be something that happens in 5 years when they've come up with some completely new technology. The technology is here.
And if we look beyond higher education institutions, do you see any other developments in corporate learning, for example?
I think corporate learning has picked up to a great extent on digitization of the learning process. What I still lack in the corporate space is more focus, and that's a bit surprising actually, that we don't see a lot of focus on the impact of using the same tools they would use for measuring the impact of a marketing campaign or a new product. We don't see the same impact assessment models used in the learning and corporate learning and development. What does it generate in renewed income to have a new sales course? Will compliance issue drop if you have a new compliance course? Will you retain your staff for a longer time if they have a better onboarding process? So all of these key company objectives are not analyzed through the lens of learning yet. So that's an area that the corporate space needs to develop.